Okay, now that we've selected the image that inspires the story and jotted down some notes about some characters and ideas about the world of the story, let's think about the theme of this narrative essay. Remember, all stories start with one of two motifs. Either everything was fine until this or that happened, or everything was terrible until this or that happened. So let's look at some common themes, and you're going to want to select a thematic structure for your story based on one of these themes. Let's look at the list together. You know, y'all, does not include all the themes possible in the world, but to keep this from being an overwhelming project, and remembering that when you take my creative writing course, we'll go far more into depth in this, but for this exercise, for this particularly uh, relevant course, think about the themes that are on this list. Somebody's going to learn a lesson. And let's think about what it is that they're going to learn. To believe in themselves. People are afraid of change, but things always do change. These are some really good examples of themes. And as you think about the character that you've created in this process of selecting one of the images from the image list, you're going to want to think about, what does the reader take away from this story? Do I learn a lesson about loyalty? Do I learn a lesson about believing in myself? What does the reader take from this experience? Now, as you've selected an image, that image inspires a certain audience, doesn't it? If I chose an image that's one of the more vintage type pictures, then maybe my reader is an older person. And older people need to learn different lessons than a 13-year-old does. So perhaps I want to create characters who learn lessons of survival, or taking care of themselves, or something in that range. If I selected one of the images that's more fantasy based, what does my reader need to learn from that? Even though the characters are based in fantasy, and we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons and things like that, but still, somebody's going to learn a lesson about survival or about one of those items that are listed on that themes list. So review that list and begin to think about what it is that your character, your main character or characters, learn through this process. And jot that down in your notes. You know, you started that Word document that contains your notes and ramblings and ideas, and I might just go into my Word document and write, it's a story about a guy who learns that love conquers all, or something else. But remember to keep it in mind and work on that in these early stages of forming the story for your final exam narrative essay. That concludes this tutorial.